If the Sinaloa cartel were a legitimate business, it would rank among Mexico's top 40 corporations and be a part of the Latin 500. It's regarded as the most successful and technologically advanced of the Mexican drug trafficking cartels, and more so than any other cartel, it best exemplifies a solid business plan. Their cunning business strategies, distribution techniques, bribery, and money laundering methods are all a part of their systematic approach to being the biggest, most sophisticated drug smuggling cartel. Join us with the most sophisticated smuggling methods. Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, a well-known Mexican drug kingpin of the Sinaloa cartel, got out of 2 maximum security prisons and trafficked tons of cocaine around the world. He was one of the most wanted fugitives in the world, even though his ruthless cartel killed thousands of people. El Chapo, also known Shorty, rose to fame in Mexico as a result of his daring exploits. In January 2016, Guzman was captured in his home state of Sinaloa after roughly 30 years of drug trafficking, but the fight was far from over by now. His cartel was operating the same way large companies work, making them the most sophisticated drug smugglers we've ever seen. Drug trafficking brings in between $3 and $12 billion annually for the Sinaloa cartel, regardless of whether it involves opium, cocaine, marijuana, or fentanyl. More than 200,000 people in the province of Sinaloa alone are employed by organized crime, making it a sizable industry. The cartel is thought to include various divisions that handle tasks like security, money laundering, transportation, production, and bribery, which makes us think, how do they operate smuggling through airplanes? Guzman revealed that he used everything from a fleet of submarines, planes, trucks, and boats to transfer drugs across international borders. According to data from the Mexican Military Ministry Police in Mexico, seized 599 aircraft, 586 planes, and 13 helicopters that the cartel used to transport drugs throughout Mexico and Latin America between 2006 and 2015. To put their magnitude into perspective, Aeromexico, the country's largest reputable airline, has only 127 aircraft. The military shut down 894 landing strips and seized 55 aircrafts throughout the first 3 years of Mexican President Enrique P. Nieto's administration. The majority of the aircraft was seized in the Sinaloa state municipalities of Culiacan, Novalato, and a home where Guzman was raised. And twice court the cartel's most complex strategy involved purchasing fast-moving caravels produced in France and commercial 727 airplanes. 60 of them were Cessnas, with the Cessna 206 being the most common model. This is probably because it has 2 side doors for easy offloading kits for expanding the petrol tank, and it can take off and land on runways as short as 300 to 400 yards. They landed them in the desert, and since they were purchasing them for roughly $800,000, it didn't matter if they lost a plane in the process, an amount that's huge to us, but they could recover with a single shipment smuggling through trucks more than the drug lords. The most important role was played by the couriers who traveled the country's roadways while concealing kilograms of cocaine in their vehicles in the USA. Tata, who drove a Lincoln pickup, had been the busiest courier for years. He transformed himself into a one-man cocaine factory, operating on a scale that the Detroit DEA office had never seen before. He delivered 246 kilos in February 2010, 250 kilos in March, and another 250 kilos the following month, 200 kilos the following month, and another 200 kilos the following, according to the cartel's handwritten drug ledgers that the authorities acquired. He always drove by himself and had been undetected for almost 10 years. It's understandable why the job may have been alluring, since couriers typically make $1,000 per kilogram. Tata would have earned more than $1 million in total before he was eventually arrested. Many couriers like Tata continue to drive across the country to deliver drugs unnoticed too, since they go for people who you'd never think would be involved such a thing. Tata himself was around 87, a war veteran who looked like someone's innocent grandpa, smuggling submarines referred to as narco submarines. These are semi-submersible boats that transport drugs over ocean waters, and because they are crucial equipment used by Colombian criminal organizations to transport their primary product, cocaine, to the top distributors, they play a significant part in drug trafficking. Narco submarines are handcrafted objects that are painted in ocean hues to make them hard to spot. They have diesel or electric engines, are either self-propelled or carry people who ensure the drugs reach their locations and are hermetically sealed. They have been used by cartels for years as a means of smuggling cocaine and other drugs, mostly from Colombia and Ecuador to Central America, Mexico, and the United States. They enable Mexican and Colombian drug organizations to work together to move drugs quickly and increase revenues, but drug submarines don't always manage to avoid detection. In recent months, a growing number have been captured by the Navy patrols and radars of several government's authorities in Colombia reported that 111 narco submarines had been apprehended since 2018. The ships typically transport 1,543 pounds of marijuana and 286 600 pounds of cocaine. The most popular routes for drug traffickers are through Mexico, Panama, Costa Rica, and El Salvador. Smuggling through tunnels the U.S.-Mexican border resembles a chunk of cheese with holes and tunnels cutting through it. The Sinaloa drug lord commissioned an architect to build a small tunnel in the late 1980s that connected a warehouse controlled by the cartel in Douglas, Arizona, with a lawyer's home in Agua Prieta, northwest of Sonora. After finishing the first tunnel, Guzman gave his men the order to contact the Colombian suppliers to tell him to send as much drugs as possible from that point on. The Sinaloa cartel made significant investments in tunnel construction, building supertunnels with electric lighting, motorized carts, and ventilation systems that snaked their way across the U.S. border like veins. In fact, Guzman included those tunnels in several of his escape plans, smuggling through drones. Cartels are so up with the times with their use of technology. Did you know they've been using drones to smuggle drugs? That's right, a 100-pound drone could transport 100 kilograms of cocaine in a single flight. In fact, a drone that was carrying about 3 kilograms of crystal meth crashed in Tijuana close to the U.S. border in January 2015. According to the police, the drone was probably unable to support the weight it was carrying. Another 26-pound package of marijuana that may have been transported by a drone smashed through a house in Nogales, Arizona, not far from the Mexican border in September of last year. So maybe it's not the best way, but they're making it work other ingenious ways. This is where the Sinaloa cartel got really creative. They've used large catapults to hurl drugs across the border by simply placing the drugs there, and boom, they fly over the border fence where someone picks them up. Several catapults have been found, some of which are capable of launching drug packets 100 meters in Progreso, Yucatan, on the other side of the nation from Sinaloa Mexican Marines, examining a cargo of frozen sharks in 2009, discovered packages of cocaine concealed inside the dead fish. But this wasn't the first time they tried to conceal drugs in food items. The Mexican military seized packets of donuts that were sprinkled with cocaine rather than powdered sugar. At some point in late 2014 or early 2015, fruits and vegetables stuffed with drugs have also been caught at many checkpoints. Lastly, smuggling through cars. Millions of cars and trucks passed between the U.S. and Mexico each year, and drug dealers have taken advantage of this. Inspectors at border checkpoints have found several hidden storage areas and compartments in vehicles, but it's not easy. The custom officials must use the blowtorch to cut open the gas tanks of the vintage trap cars that are built in these workshops. With such fantastic hiding spots and drugs hidden within in the past, drugs have been disguised as engine parts and concealed in tires and gas tanks. Other types of equipment are also used to transport drugs like cocaine that have been diluted to look like engine oil when it was being shipped alongside electrical transformers. Now that's truly ingenious. See what we mean by the Sinaloa cartel being the most sophisticated smugglers of recent times. That's all for this video. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more. Thanks for watching.